Many Star Wars fans are well aware that the Sith originated as a species of red-skinned humanoids on the planet Korriban. These Sith purebloods, much like the Mandalorian Tongs, gradually died out over the course of the old Sith Wars as their empires rose and fell. By the time of the Star Wars films, the Order of the Sith Lords and the crumbling tombs of the Stygian caldera were all that remained of the Sith, or so the galaxy thought. Unbeknownst to all but a few, a small cult of Sith purebloods survived even into the time of the Empire, living in isolation on a distant, little-known world. These Sith were the Sorcerers of Tund, and in this video, we'll be telling their story.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Tens of thousands of years before Dark Jedi exiles set foot on Korriban, the ancient Sith purebloods waged war with the Rakata, the rulers of a galaxy-spanning infinite empire. In those days, the Sith were fractious and had yet to venture beyond their homeworld of Korriban. They had long ago divided into castes, which had begun to evolve into separate subspecies, with their ruling caste being the Kisai, the priests of the Sith. Even back then, the Sith, the Kisai especially, were strong in the Force, but their civilization hadn't yet been consumed by the dark side. It was the Rakata and their eventual invasion of Korriban that pushed the Sith over that edge. In the war with the Rakata, the Sith were united under the legendary king Adas, who led his people fully into the throes of the dark side. Under Adas, the Sith drove the Rakata from Korriban, albeit at the cost of their home world, which became a blasted wasteland of red sand. But the Rakata were able to kill Adas before they abandoned Korriban, resulting in the breakup of Adas's fledgling empire. Even as the Sith commandeered Rakatan technology and migrated to the frigid tundras of Ziost, factions among the Kisai began to break off, taking Masasai warriors and other lower caste Sith with them. One such Kisai sect preached that King Adas's death had been a sign from the Force that the Sith's turn towards the dark side was wrong. They called for the Sith to turn away from the path Adas had led them down, and for this, they were branded heretics by the other Kisai and exiled. These heretics commandeered an abandoned Rakatan ship and fled into the unknown, using its hyperdrive to lead them to another world strong in the Force. The vessel led them to Tund, a world far from any major galactic civilization on the galaxy's eastern fringe. Tund was a lush world, a place of sprawling prairies, dense forests and jungles, towering cliffs, and treacherous rivers. It teemed with life, which made it strong in the Force. The Kisai heretics settled there, and they and their descendants formed a new Sith society, culturally and ideologically distinct from the one on Ziost and Korriban. For thousands of years, the Sith of Tund were completely isolated from the rest of their species, but at some point, the Sith of Ziost discovered Tund, which became a periphery world of the Sith civilization, though the cults on Tund maintained a de facto independence from Ziost rule. The Sith of Ziost and Korriban started sending other heretics to Tund, where they were typically assimilated into the existing communities. After the Sith Empire was established, half-breed Sith descended from the Jedi started being sent to Tund alongside mainstream purebloods, and they were gradually integrated into Tundan society as well. After the Sith Empire collapsed in 5000 BBY, many surviving Sith fled to Tund, where they too joined the heretic communities. It was after the fall of the Sith Empire that the Tundan Sith became the Sorcerers of Tund, coalescing under a single ideology and culture. Based on ideas inherited from the Rakata, these Sith believed that all living beings were Force sensitive, and that most simply hadn't managed to unlock their potential. They rejected traditional light-dark dualism and held that the Force was a uniform, indivisible entity, which the Sorcerers referred to as the Unity. Everything was always perfectly balanced in the Force, they believed, regardless of appearances. They were wrong, of course, but it's an interesting belief regardless. The original Kisai heretics had brought a vast amount of ancient Sith lore with them, including knowledge of the written languages of High Sith and Common Sith. But over the millennia, their culture adopted influences from the Rakata and even the Sharu, a mysterious ancient advanced species that had once ruled over Tund. They also leaned deep into Sith sorcery, which they came to mythologize as genuine magic. This made the sorcerers particularly skilled in the arts of illusion and deception. The sorcerers steadily abandoned much of Sith culture, but a few core traits endured, most notably their belief in the rule of the strongest and their belief that only Sith purebloods could truly understand the Force. Due to Tund's remote location, the sorcerers escaped the wrath of the Republic during its destruction of the Sith Empire, but after a century or two, the sorcerers were discovered by the Jedi. Despite their Sith heritage, the Jedi didn't see the sorcerers as a threat, merely viewing them as misguided mysticists. Between the Great Hyperspace War and the Great Sith War, the Jedi repeatedly sent recruiters to Tund, who unsuccessfully tried to get the sorcerers to stop playing wizard and join the Jedi Order. Of course, the sorcerers refused. Around the time of the Great Sith War, a Sith hybrid named Karnak Tetsu, later known as Karnak the Maleficent, seized control of the sorcerers of Tund. Tetsu was incredibly strong in the Force and carried out a reign of terror on Tund, causing the Order to decisively shift towards the dark side. Even after Tetsu's death, his influence remained, leading the Jedi Order to reclassify the sorcerers of Tund as Darksiders. Over the course of the old Sith Wars, the remaining Sith purebloods slowly died out, their numbers constantly slashed by wars with the Jedi. Many of those who survived these wars came to Tund and integrated into the communities there, adding Masasai blood to the Kisai lineages that dominated the sorcerers. By the start of the new Sith Wars, the sorcerers of Tund were the last Sith purebloods left in the entire galaxy. At that point, far removed from the culture and ideology of their forebears. The Jedi never went on the offensive against the sorcerers of Tund, but they kept an eye on the planet for a time. And during the new Sith Wars, they again tried to recruit the sorcerers to battle the new Sith. After the new Sith Wars, however, the Jedi steadily forgot about Tund, while the Order of the Sith Lords dismissed the sorcerers, and the Tundan Sith were again left to their own devices. That changed in 45 BBY, when the planet Tungul was poisoned and its native population was forced to flee. The Tungs ultimately chose to settle on Tund, which was sparsely populated and had a climate the Tungs considered favorable. The sorcerers, however, didn't take kindly to the new arrivals, who they harassed for decades until Supreme Chancellor Palpatine ordered a Republic intervention on the Tung's behalf. Unbeknownst to all but a few, however, this was actually just a cover for agents Palpatine sent to scour Tund for Sith artifacts. Palpatine didn't think much of the sorcerers of Tund, deeming them a waste of time despite their Sith blood and unworthy of recruitment by the Order of the Sith Lords. He only cared about Tund for the Sith artifacts there, and once his agents had stolen everything he was interested in, he was content to leave Tund alone. During the Imperial period, the Imperial Navy made sure the sorcerers remained confined to Tund on the Emperor's orders, but they didn't do much beyond that. Then, in 5 BBY, Rokure Gepta came along. Gepta was a croak, a member of a snail-like species with tremendous powers of illusion, which he used to infiltrate the sorcerers of Tund. Gepta learned all of the sorcerers' teachings, and then destroyed Tund with a powerful bioweapon, cleansing the entire planet of life in a blaze of green fire. The Sith purebloods were wiped out in the disaster, and Gepta became the last of the sorcerers of Tund. Emperor Palpatine appointed him ruler of the Centrality, the remote region where Tund was located, but Gepta's reign didn't last long. He was killed by Lando Calrissian 2 years later, and the sorcerer's secrets died with him. So, there you have it. The last remnants of the ancient Sith were finished off by a psychotic snail and Lando Calrissian. But what do you think? Would you be interested in the stories of other offshoot Force sects, like the Jiao Shay or the Zazon Shah? Feel free to post your thoughts in the comments below.